On the northwestern outskirts of Sydney, 56 kilometres from the CBD, lies Windsor. If you've heard of the small Hawkesbury town, it's probably because of its rich history and beautiful scenery. Nestled between South Creek to the south and the Hawkesbury River to the north, using bridge crossings is a necessity for locals, and the most historic of these crossings is Windsor Bridge. Built in 1874, the bridge at the top end of Windsor has recently celebrated its 140th anniversary. However, the last few of those years have seen tensions rising as to its future. A plan by the Roads and Maritime Services to replace the bridge has been approved by state government. This plan is also expected to impact the historic civic square the bridge lies in. Thompson Square, as it's known, was named by Governor Lachlan Macquarie after a convict-turned-magistrate, Andrew Thompson. Member of the Hawkesbury Historical Society, Jan Barkley-Jack, knows a thing or two about Thompson Square, having written a book on the history of the Hawkesbury region.
Thompson Square is the oldest square in Australia. All the other squares that exist today are from the Macquarie period, and they were set up after this because Macquarie acknowledged that this square already existed and had done for 15 years.
Community Action for Windsor Bridge, or CORB as it's come to be known, is a group of locals which has decided to take on the RMS and the state government over the issue. CORB first got together on the upper level of the Macquarie Arms and has been holding its weekly meetings there ever since. The Macquarie Arms is a fitting location, seeing as how it's the oldest pub in Australia, shown here in this photograph of a painting from around 1813. Dale Miller, chairperson of CORB, has been very vocal about his feelings towards Option 1, the RMS-approved plan of action for Windsor Bridge.
Option 1, as we call it, and as it's known by, is the replacement of the old bridge. So knock down the old bridge, build a new bridge about 35 metres downstream from the old bridge, knocking down a two-lane bridge to build another two-lane bridge. But that two-lane bridge and approach road will be effectively a much higher, wider, concrete, modern structure, which is totally out of character and sync with the heritage precinct, while achieving no traffic solution, going to destroy the heritage of the place at the same time. So it makes no sense.
CORB has found support from the wider community, including a range of local businesses. One concerned business owner is Pete Reynolds, whose recognisable and well-known music store River Music lies within Thompson Square.
We do a lot of work with the local schools. We support a lot of young local guys. Some of the fellas who work here now, I used to teach when they were younger. We look after local musicians. That's what I was. I grew up as a local musician, and now we're doing the same thing.
Mr. Reynolds is a founding member of CORB, believing Option 1 will have impacts on his 1856 building.
The noise impacts are that great that they say they will provide double glazing for the building and noise treatments. However, a lot of the glass in here is the original. 90% of the glass is the original Georgian glass. If they have to pull that out, it damages the heritage significance of the building.
River Music's building is just one element of the history of the square.
You can stand in the middle of history and see it as it was. You can still see, readable in the landscape, the 1800 square, the oldest pub in Australia, the 1794 farms opposite, and the bridge and the roads are low line and they don't interfere.
One of the local musicians looked after by River Music is Nicholas Woodford, frontman of the band who are behind the campaign song for CORB.
The bridge was at the forefront of all our minds because we're all local guys, and we just feel really passionate about the situation and how we feel like we're not being heard, and that was the thing that we just kept coming back to that. The hook line of the song is what kind of fool knocks down a two-lane bridge to build a two-lane bridge. The bridge they're putting in is called a two-lane bridge, and they reckon that'll solve traffic problems, which seems ridiculous.
So many people have mentioned the traffic issue. and being that it's a key concern for both the RMS and the community, I thought I'd better check it out for myself. I took a trip out to the neighbouring town of Woodford to meet with an old friend of mine who, like many residents of his town, often takes the bridge in his daily commute. I arrived at his property, and together Jake Wilkes and I took a drive across Windsor Bridge in what I was told would be peak hour. Keep an eye on the clock in the bottom right. This footage has been sped up, but it'll give you an idea of how long it actually took us. Traffic was actually not overly bad though, certainly not as bad as I was expecting, but Jake did tell me it gets much worse than this. In the afternoons especially, Jake finds himself leaving university early, just so he can beat the traffic home, and avoid a long slow crawl down Windsor Road towards the bridge. While our trip southbound over the bridge was largely uneventful, when we turned to head back, we discovered something.
What's this?
Yeah.
What is this? Trucks can't cross at the same time.
The bridge is narrow enough to make truck drivers nervous about passing each other, but it is technically possible. The bridge has been rated by the RMS to safely carry 2 B-doubles, some of the largest trucks permitted on public roads. But aside from the traffic concerns, the Windsor Bridge's low level also leaves it susceptible to closure from flooding. If Windsor Bridge closes, the only other bridge over the river is at North Richmond.
Essentially it adds at least half an hour to your trip by heading over North Richmond.
Does North Richmond Bridge ever flood, or is it
It
higher?
does, but it takes more. So essentially if they both flood, you're stuck going down to Wiseman's Ferry, which is an hour the opposite direction.
But Corb says it has a solution, which can manage both traffic and flood problems much more effectively than option 1.
What we stand for is the retention of the old bridge and the refurbishment of the old bridge so that it can carry local traffic, and the construction of a bypass which takes out of town the heavy vehicles and all that through traffic that doesn't actually use Windsor on a daily basis.
A survey conducted by Corb found that nearly 100% of all trucks crossing the bridge from the Wilberforce side are not heading into Windsor, but as Windsor Bridge is the only crossing on their route, they're forced to continue using it. Creating a bypass for trucks and other non-Windsor destined traffic may help alleviate some of the other concerns of the RMS, that the bridge is unsafe or falling apart. These concerns persist, despite 2 independent reports on the matter conducted by engineers, which both found that while the bridge will require some maintenance, it is perfectly safe in the medium term. Before his retirement, Don Carter was a manager of bridge technology at the RMS, then the RTA. He is a man who is passionate about his area of expertise, joking that roads are just the things which join all the bridges together.
I've inspected the bridge quite a few years ago and was aware that there were some issues of deterioration of the concrete because the water in the Hawkesbury at that point is brackish. What follows from that is that you get ingress of chlorides from the salt, which in turn will corrode reinforcement and then result in bursting of the concrete. I think there would be considerable costs, but the decision has to be balanced by saying if this is a historically significant bridge, then if it's worth keeping, well then the appropriate amount of maintenance needs to be done.
Mr. Carter has a theory as to why the RMS is set on its path of taking down Windsor Bridge instead of just building an additional crossing. He calls it
the orphan bridge phenomena, whereby a new bridge is built and then the existing bridge remains, and it then creates a draw on funds because the bridge needs to be maintained.
With the support of so many industry personnel, Corb has managed to secure a rare green ban from the Construction, Forestry, Mining and Energy Union.
Basically, it means that none of their members will work on the project. The union itself negotiates with contractors and with the companies to ask them not to proceed with the project. They've put the green ban in place as a sign of support for what we're doing. So it's a pretty profound thing, for a small local community. Yeah, it's great.
While the Green Van is certainly a major achievement, the biggest sign of Corb's dedication is its continued occupation of Thompson Square, which in December will reach day 500. The Corb tent, as it's known, is occupied by at least 2 people around the clock. Nicholas Woodford has volunteered for 2 shifts so far, both late at night.
It's always really, really good. You still get some people that are driving past in cars and they actually stop and pull over and want to have a chat to you, which is, I didn't expect that late at night, but they always got good questions and they just generally want to know about what's happening. There's also some people that drive past and sort of call out abuse, which is funny, but I feel like the people that are against it don't seem to know much about it, and I feel like if they knew more about it, then perhaps they'd be on our side too.
After hearing about the experience, I decided to sign up for a shift myself to find out firsthand what it would be like. My shift was from 10 AM to 2 PM on Sunday afternoon of day 427, and I joined Corb volunteer Noel, as well as a bust of Lachlan Macquarie. Being a sunny Sunday afternoon, there was a lot of activity, especially around lunchtime.
People walked past in support, a couple of people signed the petition. Some people from Castle Hill came by, they seemed shocked. Another lady came up, signed the petition, she walked straight up and just signed it.
What I'm calling petitions there actually turned out to be letters to the Premier asking him to take action on the issue. Also interestingly, there was genuinely zero negativity from anybody. It was actually an incredibly relaxing experience, sitting in the square's park and just watching Windsor go by. If ever there was a dull moment, there was extensive reading material on offer. Also, this happened. But despite all the niceties of the day, something Noel said troubled me and pointed to a larger issue surrounding the operation of Hawkesbury Council.
There is definitely the sense that we are sort of missing a level of government in the Hawkesbury. That if it goes through the state government, the local council, they'll just sort of wave through whatever they decide.
I attempted to contact all 12 Hawkesbury councillors, but only received 4 replies, and all of them were against the destruction of Windsor Bridge. I spoke to 3 councillors, including Greens councillor Lee Williams.
The official line of Hawkesbury Council is that they support the new bridge, option 1. Now, that is going against, I believe, the great majority of the Hawkesbury people.
Council could unanimously decide to say that it doesn't want option 1 and that it wants to go back to the drawing board. The state government is not bound to listen to us, but theoretically we represent the local community, so if they didn't listen to us, they would just be ignoring the local community, and I don't think the state government would like to do that.
The Liberals on council vote in a block. They are told how they will vote on issues. If they don't vote for certain things, such as the mayor, they can be excluded from the party. So things like the bridge is an important issue, they will vote on block. We've got the deputy mayor who gives the finger as he drives past this region. He will drive past and give the finger to who's ever sitting here at the table.
Having been on Hawkesbury Council for 23 years, Councillor Payne has seen many councils come and go, and her assessment of the current one is scathing.
I think this is a dysfunctional council. I think it's an appalling council. If you go and sit into a council meeting and just watch what goes on and how they vote on issues, it's very sad.
As councillors, we have this very rare and very important opportunity to actually make a decision which can benefit the community for centuries to come, or if we make the wrong decision, we're going to be leaving the community with a liability for the next couple of 100 years.
But the Liberal councillors currently sitting are not the only Liberals who have supported option 1. The RMS plan for Windsor Bridge was favourably looked upon by the then Hawkesbury Mayor Bart Bassett, who's now the subject of a major ICAC investigation surrounding this North Richmond housing development. ICAC is expected to release its findings on Mr. Bassett in relation to Red Bank early next year. The next step for Corb will be taking its case to the Land and Environment Court in late October. Under new laws, it's not possible to argue against an approved project on the grounds of its merits or lack thereof, so rather than saying option 1 shouldn't go ahead due to its failure to address any real objectives while still managing to ruin Australia's oldest civic square, Corb instead has to make an argument that the approval process was illegal, which its pro bono lawyers are preparing to do. In the meantime, members and supporters of Corb will continue to host community events and hope for the best.
We've got a new Premier, we've got a new Planning Minister, we've got, from the Liberal Party point of view, a new pre-selected candidate for the next election, and we're hoping that that may provide, an opportunity, an opening for us to negotiate with the government.
There's nothing much wrong with the existing bridge, it just needs a bit of TLC here and there. So we don't need to pull it down in any desperate hurry. We could take our time and plan a proper bypass.
It would be a very sad thing really for Thompson Square, for the Hawkesbury district, for New South Wales, for indeed the whole of Australia.
And this is the first time they've done something like this inside a New South Wales heritage conservation area. So it's a dangerous precedent, because if they can do that here, then it means they can do it in the rocks.
Amongst all this uncertainty, there is one thing we can be sure of. Corb won't be going anywhere until the Windsor Bridge is safe. Joel Barrett reporting.